What is up everyone? Welcome to part 2 of the world's fastest PowerMac G3 blue and white. It is the same day as recording part 1, but it is much later. It is about 7 PM and I've decided to start part 2 right now just to see if I can get an install going. As you guys know, I needed to go back to my old place to get some stuff, and I did just that. So first thing I saw was this. A different type of USB 2.0 card that has 6 ports instead of 2. Yes, please. Very good stuff. Definitely be putting that in. I also found 2 IDE optical drives. I did find a third, but it was screwed to a PowerMac G4 caddy, so I decided just to take these 2. I'm going to give this one a go first because it's had the bezel taken off of it, so that shows that it has been in one of these PowerMacs before, and I'm going to give this one a go. This is an LG drive, so hopefully this one works out. I've also got a box of stuff, and hopefully the Tiger disc is in there, and I've picked up the keyboard that goes with this G3 blue and white, so we can use the proper keyboard. So I'm going to look for the Tiger disc, swap the optical drives, and let's give it all a good go. Let's boot her up, folks. I've changed the optical drive, and another awesome thing, I've found my Tiger DVD, the first Tiger DVD that I burnt, which is very cool because I've used this one all along and I know it works awesomely. I spotted the purple case a mile off, even though it's a little bit broken. But there we go. I've also brought down all of my other software, so if I need anything else I won't run into this problem again. That's all of the sort of burnt discs and stuff that you guys have seen over the years. Anyway, I could have popped the DVD in while it was booting up, really. Let's give it a quick restart. Well guys, this optical drive is making a lot of weird noises and it's not spinning the disc up fully, so it looks like I'm gonna have to try optical drive number 3. Right guys, we're on the 3rd drive and I've left the front of the machine off because this drive's got a bezel on it, so it doesn't fit through, and it didn't like the DVD, neither did the other drive, so we're trying the CD install in this drive. This came out of a PC. The reason I know is because it had this disc inside of it, Windows 7 Home Premium 32-bit, so I must have been using this for something PC related recently, or well, vaguely recently. Or in fact not recently at all. Must have been ages ago because I have no memory of it whatsoever. Anyway, the disc has spun up, it's making all the correct noises, but I'm not counting my chickens yet because this is being very stubborn. I wish I could have found one of those Pioneer drives which I know work really well. Oh, I spun down again. Oh, God. So it keeps jumping into its OS, so I'm trying the unplug the OS drive again, because this sounds the most hopeful. This CD spinning up sounds really good. I know that sounds silly, but you've got to take all these little signs into consideration. This is the first hurdle. We haven't even touched any new hardware yet. I want to get an OS on here. I want to get Tiger on here, because we need to benchmark it. I've just got rubbish optical drives, so that's very frustrating. Well everyone, this is a little bit of a sad evening. I was hoping that I could get Tiger installed tonight and carry on with all of this stuff, but I've been battling with these ridiculous optical drives now, and CDs and DVDs, and it is doing my head in, it really is. But in kind of a nice way, because I remember this fondly from all of the PowerMacs, trying to get the damn things to boot. Once you find a nice optical drive / machine combination, so an optical drive that works well in a machine, you're good to go. I've generally found that the Pioneer drives work fantastically. So I'm going back up to my parents' house tomorrow for a family gathering. I wanted to go up today to get this stuff so that I could try this out this evening and get some sort of a head start on part 2. But what I'll do tomorrow is I'll open up my MDD and I'll bring down that OWC drive that I bought, and also see if I can find one of those Pioneer drives. Now, I know I sold one of those Pioneer drives accidentally in a Quicksilver on eBay, and I also sold one, or rather gave one away, I believe, in the G5. I'm not 100% sure if I left one of the Pioneer drives in there, but I think I did. So I'm now left with these cruddy drives, and I can't get any of them to boot, including that one over there. So giving up for this evening, folks. I am admitting defeat. I'm going to leave everything exactly the way it is, and I'm going to go and chill out for the rest of the evening. Okay guys, it is Monday morning, so bear with me for the next few minutes while I materialise. I've left the G3 in the exact same position as it was in Saturday night. I've done no more work. That's something that will be common in this series. I'm going to do everything on camera. You may have noticed with the lengthy first part, everything will be on camera. Unfortunately, I've got a little bit of bad news. So, I picked up another optical drive yesterday. This was the only other IDE optical drive I could find at my parents' house, apart from a beige optical drive that is in my MDD. And I've got no idea how that got in there. This one came from a Quicksilver, and it's a CD drive, and I think this must have been the drive that was in the case that I'm now using for my Hackintosh. Now, what's all this about bad news? Well, a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, in case you guys don't remember, I went to OWC and ordered an IDE optical drive all the way from the US to put in my very quick and lovely, highly upgraded PowerMac G4 MDD. And it arrived and it was a beast, and I cannot remember where the heck that drive is. And I've got a really, really sad feeling that I've accidentally sold not only that drive, but a couple of Pioneer drives in some machines, because I let the Mac Pro go. I can't remember what drive I had in that, because that's an IDE optical drive. I've sold 2 Quicksilver desktops, and I've given away a G5. All 4 of those machines had IDE optical drives in them, and by the looks of my remaining drives, all of my good drives have gone out, and I swap drives all the time because of these problems. So I'm going to try not to worry about that too much now. I'm going to look on eBay for some nice drives to bring back into my collection, but we're going to try out that CD drive from the Quicksilver in the G3 blue and white and see if we can install a CD version of Tiger. After a bit of persuasion, the disk has finally spun up in this drive, but it's not actually booting from the disk. So, I just hope this works. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, guys. I am nearly falling over right now. Oh, thank God. Finally. We're booting from the DVD, using the drive that came out of the G5. So it's got that Class 1 laser product sticker on the side. Oh man, that was a lot of faff. I even turned this light off to save some electricity while I was faffing. There we go, there's some more light. Okay, we can finally continue with the video. This has been a bit of a hold up, but that's okay. Tiger install, here we come. All of these crazy clunking and crunching noises make you slightly nervous, especially when it's been booting from the disk for quite some time. But, are we there? Yes, we are there, folks. Okay, engage terrible camera work and horrible noise as I move this mouse across the mouse mat. Mac OS X. Fantastic. Continue. Continue. Agree. Now then, we've got 2 partitions on this drive. As you can see, I was anticipating installing 10.1 and 10.2 on this drive. So let's go and sort out this drive and just put everything back to normal for the purposes of this project. And of course, this hard drive will be coming out of here anyway when we put all the upgrades in. This is just for the purposes of getting the initial benchmarks. Okay, here we go. Man. Nice. I am gutted about the optical drive scenario, folks. I really am. I just looked at a black Pioneer 105 on eBay. There are only 4 on there at the moment, and they're ranging from 30 to 40 pounds, which is crazy. The amount of those things I've given away is unreal. So we'll erase this and call it Macintosh HD. We're not going to install the OS 9 driver. We're going to hit erase. We're going to do the same install settings for both of these versions of Tiger, folks. Okay, awesome. Macintosh HD. There we have it. Continue. Customize. So as I said, everything the same. We're going to have X11. We're not going to have language translations, additional fonts, or printer drivers, just to speed things up a little bit. And of course, makes the install size a little bit smaller, 2 gigabytes. There we go. Install. Fantastic. Okay, I'll keep you guys updated. We'll skip checking the DVD, just for speed reasons. Oh, I had a feeling this was going to happen. I had a feeling I couldn't install on the G5 using this drive. It's the only drive that has booted, the only time I've booted, and it's given me an error. Let's try again. This machine does not want to play ball today. Well, guys, a little bit of a development. I was just swapping another optical drive. To give a bit of perspective, I've been messing around with this for about 40 minutes now. I haven't been counting the restarts, obviously, but it's been quite a lot because I've had a lot of near misses and a lot of nearly installs. So now, for some strange reason, we've got absolutely nothing. We are dead. And I haven't completely eliminated everything yet, but my first impression is I've managed to kill the power supply with all of the unplugging and plugging back in and rebooting and things. So that's not good. It's not the power cable, it's not the fuse in the plug or anything, because the monitor's still getting juice, as you guys can see, and that wouldn't be affected by a direct pass-through because because it's a direct pass-through within the PSU. These two connectors are just wired together, so there's still juice going to the system, as you can see, but we've got nothing. Both power buttons dead. All the connectors are in. Thank God for that, folks. We are working. We just had a little bit of a temporary sort of, I don't know, glitch in the matrix or something. That's what I'm calling it. Alright guys, it's a couple of days later. Again, I'm beginning recording this in the morning, so bear with me, my voice needs some time to materialise. Today I got my first package from eBay, my first package that has anything to do with this project. Basically what I did, I went onto eBay and I went into a mad rush and bought up as many Apple stamped IDE optical drives as I could find. I bought 3 in total. I don't know which one this is. I bought them a range of different models, and I also bought myself a legit copy of Tiger, but that hasn't been shipped yet. I believe my issue is partly optical drives, but also my particular burn. Hang on a second. So here we have the drive, folks. This is a Pioneer DVR 108. This has been removed from a PowerMac G5. As you can see, class 1 laser product written on the side. Here is the front. Now I'd like to give the seller of this optical drive a massive shout out, because I know he's watching. Basically, I bought this on eBay, and he messaged me asking if I was that guy from YouTube that did the Mac stuff, and I said yes. And then later on in the day when I was in work, he actually phoned me up to express, because I told him my plans for the optical drive, he phoned me up to remind me that there is no button on the front of this optical drive, so the button on the G3 on the front of it will not work. I told him that that was fine because I'm perfectly okay with using the software eject, because as you guys know, soon after they ditched the eject buttons on Macs anyway. And yeah, he tested this. He told me that he tested it with all variety of discs, burning and reading and things like that. And he says it's in perfect working order. Plus, it's a Pioneer drive. It's a DVR 108, so it's a nice drive. And it's come out of a Mac. It's got an Apple stamp. So I have got full faith in this drive. But as I was saying in the previous clip, I believe my issue is not purely down to optical drives. It is also down to my particular burn. So that's why I've bought myself a legit copy of Tiger. I really hope it arrives before Christmas so that I can continue with this video series. But I'm not going to worry about that too much yet, because I'm hoping that if the drive is forgiving enough, if this drive is happy enough to read my burnt disc, because I've used it a million times before and it nearly installed a couple of days ago, as you guys saw. I'm really hoping that we can get some action with this. So I'm going to put this 108 inside this machine. This is a much nicer optical drive than any of the ones that I've been trying to use in the past, over the past couple of days. Yeah, let's give it a whirl, basically. Alright guys, moment of truth. Okay, so the first thing we've tried today, and she is not playing ball. Right, I'm gonna have to force the drive open. Hair clip to the rescue, folks, every time. Okay, let's boot this up. Hold C, the drive is closed. And let's see if we get anywhere with this drive. That would be good. Okay, it's spun up. It's, yes, first time. Yes! First time, guys. Oh my gosh, I'm going to try not to get overexcited, but that was unheard of with the previous drives. That was a tense moment. It has spun up way quieter than the other drives. Smooth, no quibbles, nothing. I'm not going to jinx it yet, folks, because as you guys know, we've got to this stage previously and it failed during the install. But let's see if we can get through this. That would be awesome. Oh, come on, Pioneer. You've never let me down before. Extremely quick boot from the disc, guys. Extremely quick. Unfortunately, I've got the puck mouse plugged in, but that's okay. You've seen this once. I'm going to go through this again, and we'll see how we go from there. I'm not going to say anything yet, guys. I am so nervous right now. So nervous. I've been replying to comments and turning around from my chair and sort of squinting my eyes so that I can barely see this monitor to see if it's got the sorry, this install has failed error. But obviously, something I will say is it failed right about there last time. So yeah, I'm actually really nervous about the install. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm just sort of building hype within myself, and I'm so pleased with the reception for part one of this video. You guys have really enjoyed it, so I want to get this video out, and for that I need things to happen. And that's one really cool thing about this series. As I've mentioned in a couple of comments, this is all happening in real time. You guys get to see exactly what I'm going through at the exact time that I'm going through it, pretty much. So yeah, I really love that. It's not as if I'm recording everything and then posting videos when I feel like it. I literally am posting them as quickly as I can when things are happening, which is something that I used to do with these sorts of videos, and it just gives it that little bit of sort of uncertainty. But anyway, I'm just babbling on, and come on, you can do it. Finishing installation. Okay. You can do it. You can do it. And I have to say, it has been damn quick. Damn quick. The 108 is a speedy drive. Especially for PowerPC Mac. But it's connected to a pretty damn slow optical drive bus. And this machine is sitting on only 256 megs of RAM at the moment. But still a very, very quick install. Here we go. Oh yes, restart, let's go. We are safe, folks. We have an OS on this machine. Here we go. It's playing the video. Oh my word. Every single time, folks, every single time. If you want to call me lame or whatever, that's completely up to you guys, but every time I hear that, I just get goosebumps, butterflies in my stomach, the lot. For those of you who don't know, Tiger was the first OS I used on Mac as my daily OS, and yeah, when I got my first Mac, that's what was installed. And it was when Tiger was still the current OS as well, so I remember it in its glory and absolutely wonderful. Right then, let's set this up. So I'm just doing the software updates. If I remember from previous installs with this disk, it'll go through about 4 software update sets when it restarts, but the main OS update is in this first set. Yeah, this is slow, guys. It really is slow. It needs a helping hand. Panther runs so much better on a stock G3 like this. So much better. But you've got to remember that even though when we look back at Tiger now, even though it's pretty much an ancient OS by today's standards, it is such a modern OS for the G3 to run. 1999, Tiger, 6 years newer, and lived until when Leopard came out, 2007. I'm basically going to stop fiddling with it while it's trying to do the software update now. Just something that I thought I'd mention quickly, folks, is that Tiger has absolutely no problems connecting to my file server. Basically, fantastic. Oh no, there's one more Java update. Okay, no problem. Basically, it works a little bit differently to modern versions of OS X, but when you connect to your server, it gives you a list of available drives that you can mount. Then it mounts them and they appear in the sidebar and on the desktop. Once they've appeared, you can access anything that you need to. So for instance, I've mounted Monster Raid, which is of course my raid enclosure in the rack just under there, as you guys know. And I've got a handy folder with PowerPC benchmarks in it that I made a little while ago. And these are the benchmarks that I'll be running as soon as all of this stuff is finished. Okay, folks, we now have a fully up-to-date version of Tiger, and we have the benchmarks loaded onto the local hard disk and everything ejected in terms of my file server and the DMGs for the benchmarks. So what we are going to do first of all is jump into system preferences and set the display resolution. Now, throughout this entire series, the display resolution will always be 1680 by 1050 because I'm using this Dell monitor at the moment, but later on in the series, if I do switch to the Apple Cinema display, that also has a resolution of 1680 by 1050. Of course, at the moment, using the Rage 128, we are limited to VGA, but when we run the next benchmarks, we'll be using DVI on the Radeon 9200. Okay, so just before we get started, let's take a quick look at the specifications. We, of course, have a 400 MHz PowerPC G3 processor. This is the stock CPU and 256 megs of memory, and we're running Tiger version 10.4.11. If we quickly jump into more info, if we come down to graphics and displays, you guys can see that we are running the ATY apparently Rage 128 with 16 megs of VRAM and the Dell 2009 W1680 by 1050 at 60 Hz. Then up here we are running this hard drive, which has a capacity of 19.08 gig. This is, I can't even remember what drive this is off the top of my head. but it is just the normal IDE drive on the normal IDE bus. And we've got the Pioneer DVR 108, even though it's coming up as a DVR 117D for some reason. We all know the drive that I've literally just put in the machine about an hour ago, or hour or two, whatever it was. And quickly, just to prove, PCI cards, we've just got the GPU coming up, and memory, we have got all empty bar 256 meg DIMM. So, with all of that said, let's begin and get some baseline benchmarks for this G3. Let's jump into our applications folder and scroll down until we get to Geekbench. And we will run Geekbench. This is the last version of Geekbench which will run on this system, apparently. Aha, we have a problem. Sorry folks, I am so accustomed to running a Leopard on PowerPC Max that you can basically grab the latest version of all PowerPC software and it will run on Leopard in the decent machine. But of course, sometimes with Tiger, they ditched support for Tiger before they ditched support for PowerPC. So often with PowerPC applications, they'll run on just Leopard and you've got to step back a couple of versions. So let's run Geekbench. Well folks, I've got to show you this. It's been crunching away on Geekbench for 25 minutes and it is getting close to the end. So yeah, definitely taking absolutely forever, but let's see what kind of score we come out with in the end. So everyone, it's been hours and hours. I actually restarted the test because I thought it had crashed. Turns out it hadn't. It took well over an hour and 10 minutes to complete the Geekbench test. And we came out with a score of 194. Now, this is a bit odd because the average score for a 350 megahertz G3, PowerMac G3 is 200. The average for a 450 is 390, I think, or 400. So it should be somewhere between there. This score is a little low. Having said that, this is running Tiger with only 256 megs of RAM. So I am going to take that for what it is and hope that when we get more RAM in this machine, we'll get some kind of more realistic score. So this is 194. I've taken a screenshot, so we've got it recorded. I'm going to have to keep all these screenshots together and make sure I keep organised. But because of this Geekbench fiasco, I've now got to go to work. I've run out of time today, which is frustrating, but that's okay because tomorrow I'll be able to get cracking on this first thing in the morning and perform some more benchmarks. So I'm going to go to work, but luckily for you guys, you have got no more waiting because I will see you in the next clip. But I've got quite a bit of waiting and quite a bit of work, so yeah, at least we got there in the end, 194. Okay, fair enough. Alright guys, it is the next day and I am very excited to... what's happening? The front power button is a little dodgy on this. That may need a coat of looking at. It feels a bit stiff. Something's happening on the inside of the case there. Yeah, I am really excited to continue this today because after that long Geekbench episode yesterday, we couldn't really continue because, as I said, I had work. And right smack bang in the middle of this PowerPC related series, last night was Niall's final stream and final video, his goodbye video. So I've said, you know, I've left him a comment and I'll be speaking to him really soon anyway. And I've said quite a lot on the subject in previous videos, but I'm just going to say one last time. We are all gonna seriously miss you, dude, and that was a brilliant, brilliant stream. I really hope you're enjoying some of this PowerPC goodness while you're on your little break, because I think it's a little break. That's my guess anyway. I think he's gonna have to come tumbling back because popular demand is definitely apparent. So anyway, let's continue with this. So it's booted up really quickly today, which is good. It went through a little bit of a hard, rough day yesterday, so hopefully we're good to go today. I'm going to put you guys on the tripod and we're going to get some more benchmarks. And what the hell is happening out here? Someone's always making noise with power tools while I'm trying to record. By the way guys, my copy of macOS 10 Tiger arrived. We'll take a closer look at that later. I wasn't expecting it before Christmas, so I'm really glad about that. Okay, so next up we are going to test the GPU. And for that, we are going to use OpenMark. Let's launch this application. Close the Finder window, just so every benchmark is run equally. Here we go, run benchmark. Unable to switch to full screen mode. Alright guys, so after a little bit of experimenting, I've had to switch resolutions to 1440 by 900 in order to get the benchmark to run. I'm not 100% sure why that is at this moment in time. However, it doesn't really make a difference, because as long as we swap the resolution to 1440 by 900 when we do this benchmark again after the upgrades, it'll still be relevant because it'll be the same scenario. So let's run let's run this benchmark and see how it goes with the good old Rage 128. I'm gonna actually sit here and watch this, I think. We are getting down, folks. We are dipping down. Score 100 and... oh, brilliant. The resolution is there to remind us. 1440 by 900. Score 139. So let's capture this as a screenshot. That was a nice quick benchmark. What we'll do is just run it again to see if the score is similar, just in case anything was amiss. At this point, the benchmark starts to make my eyes go really, really funny. It looks a bit dodgy on camera as well, because you guys are slightly off center. Oh, score 139, exactly the same. Okay, cool, awesome guys. So we will take this as OpenMark pre-upgrade, and I don't need to note the resolution because the resolution is stated on the benchmark itself. So that is very cool. Awesome stuff. So that's Geekbench and OpenMark. Last up, all we have to do is test the disk in Xbench. And I'm also going to use Xbench to test... let's take a little look here, folks. We'll do the disk test, definitely, on the only drive in the system at the moment. Let's do the disk test to start with on its own. Here we go, with the random, the disk starts making quite a bit of noise, but as I may have mentioned, this hard drive is relatively quiet for its age anyway. It's not a bad drive at all. The Samsung drive that I've got over here on the desk that has OS 9 on it, that winds up incredibly loud as soon as you boot the system up, and it makes the whole computer sound so much older, if that makes any sense, because of that sort of 90s whining hard drive noise. So I may look at putting OS 9 on a quieter drive in the future, but for this this particular project we're looking at OS 10 Tiger only as the only OS on the system. It makes life a lot easier. Okay, so if we will actually keep this information up. Results score 30.62, so we've got 24.41 on random and 41.08 on sequential. So that is the results for Xbench disk speed test. Let's capture this and label it up. Xbench disk speed pre-upgrade. And I will be putting these into folders to keep myself organised, folks, but I'm putting pre-upgrade just in case. I really, really don't want to get these results mixed up, although it will be pretty hard to mix them up, I think, by the time we're finished with the upgrades. I'm just thinking, while we're here, we may as well test graphics in Xbench as well, just as a little added bonus. That way, we get as many results as we can, and we can make a lot of comparisons after the upgrade. Plus it's quite a cool little sort of psychedelic benchmark. Okay, so that is complete. We have got a Quartz graphics test result of 17.96 and an OpenGL graphics result of 32.79. Now I've got to remember that I haven't changed the resolution back. That is one thing. While running Xbench, I've been at 1440 by 900. That's important to remember. So what I'll do is Xbench. Not that it'll make that much difference anyway, I don't think. Xbench graphics. And I'm going to do pre-upgrade. But I'm going to do 1440 by 900. Just so I remember. And while we're here, folks, because we're going to be changing so much hardware, this is probably the last time we'll have the stock hardware configuration. Even though it may take a while, I think we should test CPU test, thread test. I should have done user interface in that as well. I tell you what, folks, I could have done the lot together really, but splitting it up makes it easier to view results, so that's okay. Let's do CPU test, thread test and memory test. See how long this takes. This is just so we get a nice lot of numbers to compare, I think, folks. It'll be good fun to take a look at all of these at the end. There we go, that was extremely quick. So what we'll do for this one is we'll collapse the system info so that we can see all of the test results. So we've got 11.24 for CPU, 17 for thread test, and 7.65 for memory test. So that is very cool. That gives us, these numbers mean nothing to us at the moment, folks, but it gives us a point of comparison. So, Xbench, CPU, thread, mem, pre-upgrade. There we have it. And what we'll do, just as one last one, we'll do the user interface test on its own, just so we don't miss out. User interface test, start, and part of me is curious because I've never seen this test running. That's a pretty cool little dialogue that it brings up, and that is a very quick test. So for a user interface result, we get 8.04. So there we have it, whatever that means. Xbench, user interface, pre-upgrade. Lovely. So we have, let's just recap everything we've got here, folks, just so that we make sure that it is safe to fiddle about with the hardware. We have our Geekbench result of 194. I don't really know what's going on there. It should be a bit higher than that, but we'll take that with a pinch of salt. Score of 139 on OpenMark, and then we have our Xbench results for, what do we have here? CPU, thread and memory. We've got the disk speed test, which is one of the most exciting ones. We've also got the Quartz graphics test and the OpenGL test, and then finally the user interface test. So, very exciting, folks, very exciting indeed. They are all of our benchmark results. So what I'll do is I'll keep them all together. New folder, G3, ooh, G4, so accustomed to typing G4. G4 blue and white, benchmarks, pre-upgrade. There we have it. And we'll pop all of those in there, and we'll put these for safekeeping on my server because, of course, this hard drive is coming out. So I won't be able to access any data that's on it, obviously. So now then, folks, after emptying the trash, deleting everything, ejecting everything, this is a fully up-to-date blank Tiger install. The only things that we've added are 3 benchmark applications. So this is totally blank, a very, very, very handy install to have on a hard drive. I plan on keeping this hard drive like this. What I'll do when I pull it out is I'll label it up and I'll know that this is Tiger, fully up-to-date if I ever need it. So folks, let's shut down the stock configuration of the G4 for the last time. We're going to hit shut down, and then we're going to hit, once again, shut down. We have now successfully benchmarked the closest I can get to factory default PowerMac G3 blue and white. Pretty much, give or take a couple of things. As I've said before, a little bit more RAM than you would have received back in the day probably, and more hard drive space, but other than that, this system is completely stock. And of course we've put that nice G5 optical drive in there now, the DVR108. So in the next video we will be installing all of this gorgeous hardware. The next video is really going to be the meat and potatoes of this upgrade series. That's where we're actually going to be putting the parts in. And if you guys are wondering about putting the CPU in and getting that set up properly within an OS and stuff, I'm basically going to do the upgrades in 2 stages to avoid things from blowing up and going wrong. So you'll see what I'm planning on doing later on. We're basically going to install Tiger and stuff, get the RAID 0 SSDs up and running, and then leave the CPU to last, just so we get everything sorted. And we'll install Tiger from my new legitimate version just to test it out. Won this on eBay pretty cheap, not too bad at all, so I'm really glad I've got my own copy now. So thank you very much for watching this video, folks. I know it's been spread across a few days and a little bit all over the place, but we are getting there. We are slowly ticking the boxes and turning this into the world's fastest G3. So all I have left to say is now, again, to be continued. I will see you next time.